The National Youth Service was established in 1964 through a National Assembly Act. It's actually a parliamentary act, and its main purpose was actually to help eradicate poverty amongst the youth, create employment, and actually to get young people to be patriotic. With the first scandal at NYS that saw Anwe Guru paraded before the nation and being looked at as a chief suspect or architect of NYS. The one fatal flaw about that process was the fact that we all focused on the individuals and we all paid for her blood. But the same systems that had failed could fail again and could be exploited again. All you needed to do was to replace Waiguru, if she had any role to play, with somebody else. I believe that when it comes to the NYS and the money that we're losing at NYS, it stops being a matter of justice and prosecution. It now becomes a moral issue. It becomes a moral issue because we need to now start looking into ourselves as a people. Are we mad at the people who are making money off NYS because we are not beneficiaries of the same loot? Or are we mad as Kenyans because we find that this is a real problem that we need to start addressing? So, is the NYS meeting its set agenda? Are we actually achieving anything with it as we speak? It's become a cash cow. So I believe one of the first things we need to urgently do as a country is take this act back to Parliament, and because this is where it was created, and this is where we feel that all the holes that the NYS Act has that is allowing these people to actually plunder this organization can be sealed. We have seen NYS-1, the first scam, which implicated very senior officials in government. That scam was high profile because it went right to the doorsteps of the State House. And we saw the former Cabinet Secretary, Waiguru, initially fighting back, but she had to literally leave government, the executive, because of this same scandal. We now have NYS Season 2, if you may. When have we ever seen high-profile individuals hauled to court, arraigned, charged, jailed, or auctioned for their involvement in such scandal? To what end would calling for prosecution and calling for inquests and tribunals help to alleviate this problem? We saw on the headlines that one of the suspects who received 60 million shillings from this same scandal, NYS2, was or is a young person who never tendered, never applied for a tender, never supplied any item to the NYS. This is a high school graduate, yet this young person received over 60 million shillings of taxpayer money. What message does it send to her peers or others? That if you know the right people, you don't need to work hard in this country. If you know the right people, you may just make it. You may just strike gold. This is like a grand lottery. If we are not punishing a grand corruption, we don't have people today in jail because of the Golden Bag scandal. We don't have anybody serving time in jail, sentenced to jail because of Anglo-leasing scandal. What we have are charges, court processes that yield nothing. When they're remanded in expensive hospital beds. But a young person today who may receive 100 shillings bribe will be thrown into jail in an expedited court process that would take probably less than a week. So you find that we have a moral issue here to ask ourselves. And I feel like if we start demanding today for action to be taken against the NYS2 perpetrators, then we are singing the same song over and over again, where we end up forming expensive task forces, tribunals, expensive investigations that will yield nothing. Right now, we see that with this new scandal that has come up with NYS, the conversation is more about the institution itself, the structures around it. Because we may throw Cicely Kariuki, CS, under the bus. But then once she's gone, we're going to have another CS. And if these office holders have nothing to do with the plunder and the corruption that is going on at NYS, could the problem be emanating from the juniors? Could it be emanating from the staff? And if we today start concentrating on the institution itself, and that's why I feel like Parliament needs to relook at the entire NYS Act and see, is it befitting to transfer the entire services of NYS under the Department of Defense, seeing that it is a military service provision, and so that we may now transfer the NYS plus its accounts to a different department that may have better auditing systems in place. So I believe fully that it is not fair to just focus and concentrate on the office bearers. Let us look at the institutions, because we cannot have an institution having the same scandal just 2-3 years apart. You realize that we have a structural failure, and this is something that can only be solved if we fix NYS as an institution, not the office bearers. I think it is time that the National Assembly took back this act to Parliament that they passed in 1964, and so what to do with the NYS. Besides the legislation, one very poignant thing that the country, the government, the executive needs to do is to punish, severely punish the culprits of this grand corruption. The minute we start punishing, severely punishing the perpetrators of corruption in this country, however high up the ladder they are, from the president himself to the lowest ranking civil servant, then we may start having a culture of no tolerance to corruption. Young people also need to really just know that you can make it without having to be corrupt, without having to pay or receive a bribe. So you find that it has become a culture. We have a culture. Corruption has become a culture. We may as well just legalize it. Because now, people know today in this country that for me to get a tender, I must owe pounds. And so until the executive, until the Cabinet Secretary of Internal Security, Matiang'i, goes for these people and hold them before a court of law, like any other criminal, then we shall start having people responding well to the calls about fighting against corruption. Because a criminal is a criminal. A thief is a thief. So we have thieves in this country who get away with billions, scot-free, no repercussions. What you do is you embolden the next lot of thieves. So we need to start holding these people before court. Found guilty, they need to go to jail and serve jail time with hard labor. That only may be the one thing, other than legislation, that we may do to deter people from actually feeling like government institutions are a place to plunder and a place to steal.